I had some tips last minute here for organizing as an introvert. I think it came up as maybe a question the last time. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly why I added this. But I thought it was important to point out because a lot of the stuff we've talked about so far, knocking doors and things like that, it's very extrovert seeming activities, right? You got to be very comfortable going and talking to people. And one aspect of that is, as fairly introverted person myself, is that it's not as bad as it sounds. That actually, if you go and do it, you'll probably enjoy it more than you expect. That said,
Especially if you're doing deep
yeah,
canvassing and having actual conversations,
yeah,
right?
if you're having
It's
an actual
very
conversation,
uncomfortable to do mainstream canvassing, to do, Democrat or Republican canvassing, because you go to a door, you knock, and you tell them what to think,
right, right,
right? And it's not a good way to start a relationship. But if you're doing the deep canvassing, it's also called relational organizing, right? If you're doing it that way, these become organic conversations. I remember once when I was a field director for a community org, I got a call and one of my organizers was or one of my canvassers was missing. No one could find her. And so we started freaking out. She wasn't answering her phone. Someone was feeding her lunch. She knocked on the door and ended up getting a lunch, right? And she's a very introverted. She was one of our more introverted canvassers, right? But because it was a different kind of conversation, because we weren't there to say vote for this person because they'll do X, Y, and Z. We were there to have a conversation about how they felt in their community. She was able to, get to the point that she was sitting at a table ignoring her boss and her husband's calls.
Yeah, exactly. So that's half of the advice, right? That give the true deep canvassing a shot because you might enjoy it more than you think. But the other half is that even if you do sort of enjoy that and you're still just generally not comfortable with big large events and around lots of people and it burns you out, it's very energy draining and all, there's still ways to be involved, right? There's ways to hold meetings online and to get involved online. Lots of writing tasks, for example. There's graphic design, there's social media, there's all these things that could be done.
Research, policy writing.
Yeah, research, policy writing, exactly. There's all these ways that you can be involved without necessarily being the person that goes door to door or giving the big speech or whatever it is. And another piece of advice, which I think goes in with sort of the deep canvassing, is that when you do have these in-person meetings, part of the introvert and I guess generally like neurodivergent sort of thing is that we have a really hard time like with small talk, right? And kind of blending in with that like normal sort of thinking. So to kind of avoid those awkward moments of small talk and stuff like that, have in-person meetings where there's some specific activity that can help kind of guide that socialness. So for example, having a neighborhood cleanup can be a lot of fun. Getting together and planting trees or a community garden or something could be fun. Making signs. Maybe you're not the person that wants to be at the rally or giving a speech at the rally or whatever, but you can go and make signs at a smaller party with, friends that in the Green Party or whatever. You can make signs for that rally. And having social events we talked about is really important to kind of boost morale. So, have something like a game night where you can get to know each other without that awkward what do we talk about? The weather, or the bar atmosphere, bar culture, like we are saying. So, I think these are all ways to kind of work around that and put your introvert skills to use in the campaign, right? Not everybody has to do every task, and that's perfectly okay. You should do what you're comfortable with, what you're happy with, what fits your skills and all that stuff. So there's ways for you to be involved. And on the flip side, as a note to organizers, make sure that you're making open spaces for people like that and that they have the channels to know how they can get involved in these sort of things. That it's easier for an introverted person to sign up to do social media, for example. There's got to be a way to do that. So, making democratic, inclusive spaces includes this kind of stuff. So just something to keep in mind.